Hey, rock stars. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Sales Team Ready podcast, where everything is possible. There are no such thing as limits or obstacles, only opportunities, right? That there is nothing but the mountaintop to be reached and achieved. This is the podcast for people who know that they're being sold out to something more, that you are completely sold out to something more. For those who desire the mountaintop more than anything. I'm your host, Jim Padilla, and today we're going to be talking about the secret to becoming an extraordinary entrepreneur. Now, I had a great conversation with a gentleman named Ryan Horn, young guy. And one of the things I always get really excited about young entrepreneurs because I was in business when I was in high school. I was in business before that, and I've been a lifelong entrepreneur. The difference was I had my head in the clouds or my head somewhere else. And so while I was good at running, I was doing business. I didn't figure a lot of things out. I didn't have a lot of things. Quite honestly, most of the lessons I learned were by screwing things up for decades. And it wasn't until, the last decade here, last 10 years, where I've really started to figure things out and applied all of the wisdom of the lessons learned. So I get really excited when I see young entrepreneurs who are figuring it out, who are putting the right steps together and getting the successes early, because then they're going to avoid the 20 years of craziness up and downs that I had. And so you're going to like him and you're going to enjoy him. He's good. He's an exciting young guy. Share him with you. So before we get going though, I want to encourage you, go to my website, myjimp360.com, and connect with me. Okay. Whether it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, any of my social medias, get synced up. Let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're listening. Shoot me a quick text message when you get there and let me know what you're taking away from this. What are your biggest sales struggles? So the weekend, start sharing the things that you want, any specific guests that you want interviewed, any specific problems that you want solved. I am here to do that. We are here to be at your service, right? So connect with me. Let's get you all set up and synced up. You know what to do. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Podcast here, share it with anybody that you believe would be useful. All right. So now, without further ado, okay, it is a common misconception here that the most successful people in the world were born with some kind of special, extraordinary gene, right? But it's just simply not true. These extraordinary people learned how to develop their own potential, right? Push themselves beyond what most would believe possible. And so can you. So our guest today will talk about how you can be an extraordinary entrepreneur beyond your imagination. Right? He's a living testament to how a person can totally change his life. He went from broke and working 12-hour night shifts in a metal factory while sleeping on his dad's couch to becoming an award-winning entrepreneur, peak performance coach, and an in-demand speaker, top-rated podcast host, right? So founder of the Extraordinary Man movement and the host of the Extraordinary Man podcast. Let's give a warm welcome to Ryan Horn. All right, awesome. So glad to have you in here, Ryan. And you heard the official formalized introduction here, but why don't you take a quick moment and tell the Sales Team Ready audience how you really got here? What's the story behind Ryan? How did this all come to be and why does this matter?
Yeah, thank you for the intro. I appreciate that. And I'm excited to be here. So, for me, I was always entrepreneurial growing up. When I was 11 years old, I went and sold calendars door to door in my small little hometown. But went to college because I thought that's what I was, quote unquote, supposed to do. And didn't really know what I wanted to do at first, which is a problem for most people. Eventually decided I wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach at a college. So got a degree in exercise science. But around the end of my junior year, I read this book. I love this book. It's called The Education of Millionaires. This guy went and interviewed a couple dozen millionaires and billionaires that either didn't graduate college or some of them didn't even graduate high school. So basically,
Right.
the book was about self-education and starting your own business. So that kind of sparked my interest in starting a business again because obviously when you have a business, you can control your schedule, how much money you make, where you live, those types of things, which I really wanted. So graduated from college, moved down to the Twin Cities here in Minnesota, which is where I still live, and attempted to start a personal training business and fell flat on my face, and learned some things the hard way. So although I was really good at the skills, and I think a lot of business owners fall into this when they're trying to start out, they're good at the skill of what they do, but they're not good at the marketing and they're not good at the sales. And I learned quickly that you don't make much money if you're not good at that part. So
Right.
3 months in, I'd made about $200, and that obviously total, not even per month. And that obviously wasn't going to pay the bills. And at the time, I was sleeping on my aunt's couch. She lived in a 60 plus condo community. So technically, I was not allowed to live there. I did not blend in very well with the 60 plus crowd. And so I
Right.
was sneaking in and out every morning and every evening. And eventually, I needed to make some money, had student loan debt. So I went to this employment agency. They placed me in a metal factory working 12-hour night shifts, 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. for $9 an hour. And that was pretty humbling. I mean, going from, hey, I'm going to go start this business and crush it to here I am at this metal factory overnight. And I remember I was sitting there one night, I was in the break room, it was probably about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I looked up at the clock and I realized it was my 23rd birthday. And that just hit me hard. I was like, man, what am I doing here? Like, this was not the plan, you know? And I don't know if you've ever felt like you're letting everybody around you down or like you're living below your potential, but that is exactly how I felt. It didn't feel very good. So I kind of sat there feeling sorry for myself for 10, 15 minutes, but then I made a really powerful decision. And the decision that I made was that I was going to finish out my shift, quit the metal factory, go learn what I needed to learn to be successful in business. And so that's what I did. Long story short, I went, dove headfirst into personal development. I found some mentors that taught me how to sell, how to market, and I got to a low level of success, I would say, within about 3, 4 months. I was able to move out of my aunt's place, but I stayed stuck there for probably about a year, maybe a year and a half. And it was really frustrating because I felt like I was working harder and harder, but nothing was happening. And so that's when I made two more really powerful decisions. The first one was hiring my first coach. And it was definitely a leap of faith. I don't know if you've ever felt like this before, but I felt like stuck between a rock and a hard place because it was like, I know I need to do something to go to the next level. But in my mind, the lie I was telling myself was, I can't afford it. I can't do it. And so I got on a free call. It was amazing. And I was like, I have to do this. So I jumped despite the fact that I didn't have the money. At least I didn't feel like
Right.
I did. I did that. And 2 weeks later, I had an opportunity to fly to Miami for a 1 day mastermind with two very successful mentors of mine that I'd bought some of their programs and listened to some of their free trainings. And that was another thing where it was like, man, I got to jump. I know I need to do this, but I don't feel ready. I don't feel like I can afford it. So those two things were absolutely pivotal. The next year in my business, it doubled the year after that. And really what it taught me was that the best investment you can possibly make is in yourself. And so that kind of kicked things off. And that was back in 2014. So since then, I have been a part of several really high level coaching programs, masterminds. I've went to 30 plus events around the country. And man, personal development has changed my life. And so that also got me interested in coaching and led over the series of a couple of years to me starting my current business in 2018, which is called Extraordinary Man. And so I coach men and help them grow their business and become the man God created them to be in every area of their life. And I also host the Extraordinary Man podcast. So that is a little bit more about me and my backstory.
A lot of similarities in there to a lot of successful entrepreneurs, right? I mean, a lot of overcoming, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of looking in the mirror and how the hell did I get here? And all of that. The good news is you figure it out a lot sooner than a lot of people do. So good for you, because I know a lot of people, myself included, me, I've built and crashed businesses for 30 years. I have become what I would call an exponential entrepreneur in the last decade, but I sure wish I'd have done it 25 years ago. Instead I just kept learning things the hard way and not
Sometimes you
figuring it
have
out.
to do that.
Yeah. We're talking about exponential entrepreneurs, and the audience, the people that we attract here are people who fit that box. Everybody here they're sold out to something. They're trying to get there. They just may not know how to get there, but they're not for lack of will. What stops entrepreneurs from achieving their maximum potential?
Man, I think there's a lot of things for sure. I think two of the biggest things that I see are clarity and commitment. And again, there's lots of things, but yeah, when I'm coaching people, I think people kind of when you say, "Oh yeah, clarity," they're like, "Oh, well, of course, I know that." But they're not really crystal clear on what they want. They're not crystal clear on their goals. They don't have a really compelling vision that's driving them forward, or maybe they came up with one a while ago, but they don't ever look at it. So that's one thing for sure that I would say. And then the commitment piece too, because As an entrepreneur, first of all, it's going to take longer than you think. It's going to be harder than you think. And there's going to be way more obstacles than you think that come up. So if you are not 100% committed to getting your outcomes, then eventually, I mean, best case scenario is that all those obstacles are massively going to slow down your progress. But for a lot of people, I would say the reason a lot of entrepreneurs struggle and end up quitting is because of that. They just have all these obstacles and they're not clear on their why, and lots of other reasons as well. But I think that stops them and holds them back.
Getting clear on the direction is so important. And too many people don't. Too many people. I'm surprised, and I don't know why I'm always surprised every time I turn over some dirt and find an entrepreneur that has just got into business to do their business. There's not anything else driving them.
Yep.
They got it. They're painting because they're a good painter, or they're fixing, doing electrical because they're a great electrician, right? Or they're building pools because they were great at it, but they never thought about what else, where to go, where am I going beyond this? What am I doing with this? What's the purpose of this?
Yep.
And then they're missing, most of the time they can't get business the way they need to. And then when they do get business, they don't know what to do with the money. They don't manage the money well, but they're a great painter or they're a great carpenter, right? Or a great coach, whatever it might be. And so that's something that we see a lot of. Guys got to be aware of that. It's like, you got to know what you're driving for, because if not, you're just stuck in this trap that all of a sudden you look back 20 years later and you haven't progressed anywhere. And that can be frustrating. Aside from just
Definitely.
doing more of business, you got to have something else driving the ship. We often hear that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right? And it's the same with the journey of any entrepreneur towards success. Where should entrepreneur begin, right? And then what should be your first and most important step towards maximizing potential?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you two answers on this. The first two things that popped into my head. The first thing I would say is that just start. It doesn't have to be the perfect first step, because I think that holds a lot of people back. They're like, oh man, once I get this perfectly figured out, exactly what I'm going to do, who I'm going to serve, how I'm going to do it, then I'm going to do it. But guess what? That's never going to happen. And one of my favorite quotes is that action brings clarity. So you're going to have to take some steps to start out with without knowing for sure where it's going to go, or what's going to happen. But as you do that, and as you take more action and take more steps, the path is going to get more and more clear. So that's one thing. The second thing I would say, the thing that I wish I could go back and tell myself when I was starting out as an entrepreneur would be get a coach as soon as possible, because I spent close to the first 2 years as an entrepreneur really, really struggling because I tried to do it on my own. Now, I invested in books and maybe some courses and stuff, but having a coach and somebody to guide you and call you out on things and hold you accountable and all those things, and it's a game changer. So that's what I would say.
Got it. There's a lot of people who've been doing business for a long time. It seems almost common sense if you're just starting out that you should get a coach, you should get a mentor, you should get some kind of a guide.
Yep.
But what about somebody who's been doing this for 20 years and and has never had a coach, has never had a mentor, has never even considered one? And then
Yeah.
now they're at a place where, well, why would I do that now? Right.
Yeah, I think depends on the person where they're at, but what I would say is that you're never going to maximize your potential on your own. So even if you are successful or you've hit a certain level of success, a coach is going to help you amplify that and take it to the next level. And if you're in a place like where I was when I hired my first coach, felt like I was working really hard but staying in the same place. And it was really frustrating. And a lot of people that I coach, I find that that's where they're at. They feel like they're working really hard, they're trying to build it, but nothing's really happening and they've been stuck in that place for a while. So, I mean, I think a coach will just help you maximize wherever you're at, whether that's, stuck in the same place or even if you're doing well.
Sales Team Ready is sponsored by Gain the Edge. If you're wondering how you'll hit your sales goals or hit your numbers, if you've experienced sluggish sales so far to this point, or you're just tired of hitting the same problems and challenges, let us talk. Let us see where we can get you unstuck, right? Because we can create the systems, the processes, the strategies, and the sales teams that can help you move past where you're going and reach that mountaintop. Reach out, join us. Hey, the link is in the show notes, right? And talk to one of our GTE success advisors, see what we can do to get you up to that mountaintop. There's something else I was really most excited to talk with you about. I mean, obviously you can help people with and grow businesses, et cetera. But as a Bible believing man of God myself with my own, ministry and purposes that really drive me to serve God. You have created an extraordinary brotherhood of extraordinary men mastermind. And tell me more about it, right? And how can, why would people want to be a part of it, and how can they participate?
Yeah, great question. So the mastermind, at least where it's at right now, is made up mostly of my current coaching clients. There are a few other people in it, but I haven't actually opened it up to the public. It will be in the future, but basically what that looks like is we get together once a week. We jump on Zoom together. I do a short training. And then we have an opportunity to share. There's 4 specific questions that I ask each guy on the call. If there's too many guys, then we can't go to everybody. But it's powerful because men coming together in community is not common. A lot of guys want to isolate themselves. They want to try to do things on their own. So I think it's been really cool to see my clients be able to come together and get to know each other and find out that, hey, I'm not the only one struggling with this, which is, the lie that a lot of us believe is that, oh, I'm the only one struggling, so I don't want to share it with anybody else. But when you do, especially with a room of other men that are entrepreneurs, and the majority of people that I coach are also Christian. So you start to see, oh, yeah, you're struggling with that. Well, I used to struggle with that, or here's my story. And that's why I love telling my backstory too, because I think sometimes people see successful entrepreneurs, maybe like yourself, and they're like, oh man, look at Jim. He's crushing it. He's amazing. Like he must have just got lucky or whatever. But you already said, you had 30 years of up and down, and it's a roller coaster, right? So I think just the community aspect is absolutely huge.
Awesome. I've learned over the years that I don't apologize for being a man of God. It's a fabric of who we are. What do you see different that somebody who is on purpose and on mission, on a godly purpose, versus somebody who isn't in their business as an entrepreneur, as a family man? And what are the key differences that you see?
Yeah, so I think this definitely does not apply to everyone because there are non-Christian entrepreneurs that are not like this. But what I would say is it's usually their motivation. They're going after things for themselves. Like, hey, I want to make $1 million so I can go, buy this Lamborghini and this amazing house. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but if you're only focused on yourself, you're never going to be totally fulfilled, for one thing. So that's a big thing that I would say. What's the motivation? At least for me and for a lot of people that I coach, it's more than yourself, right? There's got to be something beyond yourself. And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about before with the vision, too. If your vision is just, I want to do this for me, that's only going to take you so far. So that's the first thing that comes to mind for me.
Got it. Yeah, appreciate that and resonate with it. And it feels like we serve a lot of people in the coaching industry and consulting world, and many of them by default are driven by some sort of purpose and something bigger. But it's also easy to get trapped into the day to day of, I have to look a certain way, I have to be a certain way, or people won't buy from me, won't believe in me, won't share. And I've just come to learn that the most effective thing you're ever going to do is be yourself. And the more you are authentic to you, and I just can't stand that word because it's so overused, but that's what people resonate. That's, and that's where God shows up. That's where purpose shows up. That's where truth lives, so it's no surprise that that's where most of your success is going to be found.
Yeah.
So I love that. And again, I get really excited. I mean, as a 53-year-old guy with grandkids now, I get really excited when I see young entrepreneurs like you who get it sooner. I was building businesses at a young age. I had absolutely no clue where I was going. And it's really exciting to see young entrepreneurs that getting it done, that are figuring it out, that have purpose, that are moving, because you're just going to be, when you're my age, you're going to be so much further down the road. And it's very encouraging for where we're going to leave, the state of this country and this world that we're
Yeah.
in.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So as we get ready to wrap up here, what's the most important advice that you have ever received?
Ah, man, that is a good question. I think the most important advice that I've ever received would be that all of the promises in the Bible are true and they are for you.
Got it. Nice. Nice. And then what is one really solid piece of advice that you can leave with our listeners?
I would say that failure is not final. It's actually a stepping stone to success because so many people are afraid to fail or they fail once and they don't want to try again.
Failure is not final. Yeah, totally. And I would add to that, you don't know who's watching. So when you hit the canvas, there's a lot of people rooting for you to get up. And in that
Yeah.
process, they're determining if they can follow you. They're evaluating you as their leader, as the person who can solve their problem and see. And if they see you hit the canvas and stay down, then they move to the next guy.
Yeah. Very true.
So stay up. Now, I know you've got a few different things you offered. You said you were going to generously offer a few mentor sessions to be able to serve up to the community. What can they expect from that? Who would that be for, and how can we get it?
Great question. So let me start by telling you what it is. So it will be a free business breakthrough coaching call. And the outcome of the call is basically a couple of things that I already mentioned earlier. It's helping you get really, really clear on where you're at right now, where you want to go, what's the gap, how are you going to close it, number one. And number two is I take people through a really powerful process that is going to make you way more committed to your goals. A lot of people leave and they say that's the most powerful part. And a lot of them also say that they've never felt more committed to their goals. So that's basically the outcome of the call is those two things. And who it's for is it's really designed for entrepreneurs and businessmen that have been in business for at least a year or more. So they're not just starting off and they've already had some level of success, but maybe they're feeling, like I said before, kind of stuck in the same spot and they want to break through to the next level of success. So that's who it's best for. And the best way that they can get that would be to go to my website, coachryanhorn.com. There is a place where they can click coaching and go apply. And as long as you just put in the application that you heard about this from Jim's show here, I will make sure that the first 5 people that do that get one of those free calls.
Awesome. And in case you need it, it'll also be in the show notes so you can get access to it there. And then when you do meet with Ryan, of course, just tell him we said, hey, and then come back here and let us know. We want feedback. What was the quality? What kind of breakthroughs and outcomes did it help you with, so that we can, bring the full circle of life together here. So Ryan, really great to be able to connect with you and share you with our audience and get to know you a bit. Like I said, very excited for what you have coming. Anything that we can do to help and support that, please let us know. We're happy to. And we look forward to seeing you have some extraordinary breakthroughs with people. So thanks
Yeah.
for your time.
Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, you guys, you know what to do now. Go take action. Make sure you're checking out the show notes, pause, rewind, make sure that there's anything in here that you're resonating with, that just reach out. It costs you nothing to reach out, and it could cost you everything if you don't. So make sure that you're taking actions, asking questions, find out, do your own digging, do your own research, right? And trust your own judgment once you get there. So make sure that happens. And then, we want you becoming extraordinary. We want you to take those leaps, take those bounds, and step into the greatest versions of yourself, because what you do matters and you deserve to be paid well for it. And there are people out there who are on their knees praying for what you do, and you can be the answer to their prayers. So as always, thank you so much for trusting us to be part of your success team. What makes magic happen, make some money. We'll see you on the next one.